Good morning, everyone. This is Lolly. I'm going to make my first flipbook today. I am using the Tea Party collection by Craftsmith, which is one of their hot buys. I took out several sheets of paper, and I pre-cut the paper so as to save some time. I'm interested in doing a 6x6 flipbook, mostly because that way I can get four cutouts on every 12-inch square piece of paper. Now, usually in a flipbook, what you see is people using 3 separate pieces of paper and adhering them with washi tape, and I don't really care for that idea too much, mostly because I feel like washi is not sturdy and doesn't have the longevity enough to create a project that's going to have durability. So I want to do something in my hinge besides just washi. And I don't have double-sided cardstock, so I am gluing back-to-back some pretty cardstock that I like, but what I'm going to do is to put a hinge in between the two sheets. So here's my front and back on that side, front and back on this side. I'm going to put this in there. So these are 6x6. This is 6 inches, but this is not 12. I shaved off, an 1/8 of an inch, and the reason is when you fold them over, if you have every single layer is exactly the same, then it buckles. So, but if one of the edges that folds over is a little shorter, it'll fold into itself a lot more easily, and I'll show you what I mean by that. I cut the hinge 6 inches by 1.5. I scored it right down the middle here, which is 3/4. I did not bend it because I just used a score line to see where to tape or where to glue. And I also shaved just an 1/8 of an inch off the end there so that it would more readily fit in there without sticking out. So I think what I'm going to do first is to get some tape going here on my hinge. Oops, excuse me. Sticking everywhere. Isn't that the way with adhesive? Okay. I'm going to line this up with that hinge right there, right up to the score line, but not on it. Okay. And I'm going to do the back on here as well. Okay. And now I'm going to glue the rest of this paper so I can put both these layers together. There we go. And I don't like to see a whole lot of bulging in between my layers of tape, so I'm also going to add a little bit of glue stick in between here. I like this glue stick. It is, it's the Avery permanent glue stick, and I've had really good success with that. Okay, now we need to get this on here, lined up. Actually, I'm going to go this way first because no, it won't matter. Okay. And if I mess up, I'm just going to trim off the edges that stick out. So now we have this, and I'm going to do the same thing over here, right there. So I'll have this hinge, and then I can cover it with washi, but I'm not relying on that washi to make my only seal on that. You know, it's not going to be my only hinge system in here. Okay. See, I want that to be, no, this is going to be this side. To figure out which color I want to go where, you know what that's like? Okay. And now, same thing here. This time I'm going to line up the dry edges first. I think that will make this a lot better for me. Then I don't have to worry about whether I have put it on there correctly. There we go. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect because anything that sticks out, I'm just going to correct it there. Okay, now I've got it on the hinge. I can finish gluing the rest of this. And I think I'm going to do all the edges in this, but then I think I'll just use the glue stick for the rest. You can also use the Yoo-Hoo glue stick, UHUH, which you can get at art supply stores. And those have a really good permanence to them as well. There we go. Okay, so there we have that. Now I'm going to just run some washi across that hinge. Now normally what you see in one of these is that they use the washi alone for the seam here. And preferably I would rather have something strong. You could also use, instead of using 2 sheets of washi, you could use 1 and wrap it around there. I think that would give it a lot more permanence too. Okay, there you go, and we'll trim this off. Now, I'm going to turn the camera off, clean up my little rough edges here a little bit, and I'm going to also score this at 6 inches in from the end of the paper so that I have a nice fold line there. I will return. Okay, I have trimmed up some of the excess that was sticking out on the sides from me not lining my paper up. I scored the washi right down the middle to help that to bend, creased that there, and then I scored 6 inches in here. And I remember I said this was not a total of 12. This is about 1/8 of an inch shy, and here's the reason why. This is shorter than this, so that when I fold it, now this has room to close over it, whereas if this was 6, that was 6, and this was 6, it would not fold over well. And I like to get things a nice flat appearance. So there's the beginning of my flip book, and I will again turn the camera off and then start putting this thing together. Okay, I want to show you some of the layers that I've been working on. I added just some, this is a rubber stamp, but I added some ephemera from my stash. I've just got a whole bucket full of papers. These are several of them that I stitched in place right here, and I do have a video on doing that in the sewing machine and stitching on the edge of your paper. And it also holds cards here, so I'll just give her this card there and maybe some more. On this side, I also stitched, this is a big 4x6 Project Life card. I scored it right here so it would bend, and I sewed it in place and glued the flap down so it would be nice and sturdy. Again, I'm not too big on just relying on washi as a construction material because it's more of a decorative purpose. This is the same thing. I glued it and I scored it right there, and then I washied the end just to make it cute. I used the Tim Holtz tiny attacher, in other words mini stapler, to staple some cute little flags on there. I glued a pocket in place, have a card there, and this is a flip down, just a piece of cardstock that I folded, scored and folded the end of it under, glued that in place so it would hinge, and then I put washi over that again. So far, the washi is just purely decorative. It is not being used as a construction material. And this is a pocket, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. I'll probably put my letter in here, and then I have all this area here, this real estate that I can decorate right there and here, and I'm not done because I have these 3 and I have this to decorate as well. So we will come back again. See you soon. Okay, so I'm back. I have basically finished it. I still think the front needs some work. I think I chose such a busy paper for the cover that I had a hard time pulling together what I wanted to do, and I was trying to make this as flat as possible for mailing purposes, and I really wanted to put in some dimensional flowers, so I think that kind of hindered me. I still may mess around with it a little more, but I am done. So this is the front cover, and I am so glad that I put that spine inside there because washi, especially when you keep opening and shutting it, does not hold well, and I had to end up using the Loctite super glue to keep the washi pinned down in the front. So that said, here's the first part, and I showed you most of this. This is for her, and I have put some vellament here, and I did, again, tape it in place before I put the washi on it, and just put some ephemera in there, and again, I used some of the staples. And I have added this for a note for her. I made it a little shorter on the front so I could flip it open more easily. I'll finish the note on that. This flips down, and I have just some ephemera on the top. The bottom I have this teacup, which flips up and actually holds into place. It says, "This is the life, and you and me." So it has a little catch on it like that. Okay, and then in here I added these 2 pieces here with the tiny attachers at the bottom, so this stays there, and this has got a quote on the back. Another little clip here for her. This is blank. I'm not sure if I'm going to write something in there or leave that for her or put something on it, but I also put a stamp on the back here that says "You're delightful," and I put these 2 tiny little envelopes in here, and I will give you the link to my video on making those tiny little envelopes. There you go. So other than trying to figure out what I want to do with this space, if anything, it is completed, and I'm overall really happy with it, and they're very fun to do. I just am thinking about whether I want to do anything more with the cover and that one spot back here, that journaling spot. Other than that, really happy. I thought it was a really cool project, and I've been wanting to do one of these for quite a while. I could see how these are really addicting. So the purpose of this, again, is for a letter and snail mail with a pen pal. Thank you so much for watching and giving a thumbs up so that I know what kinds of videos that you like to see.